Good evening, everyone. Welcome to live sessions over Tadvidya Sambhasha Facebook page. So, as we all know, since 2 months we are facing the problems of lockdown due to coronavirus, and because of this, all colleges have been shut down and not able to conducting classes. So, yeah, of course, few of colleges are conducting online classes, but it is not reaching every students. So, we came up with this live session over Tadvidya Sambhasha page for UG and PG students, and also the students who is going to crack the PG entrance exam. Myself, Dr. Ratna, working as assistant professor in Department of Prasuti and Sri Roga in Hillside Ayurveda Medical College, Bangalore. So first, I would like to give introduction about some introduction points about Sri Roga and Prasuti. It is a specific branch which deals with obstetrics. That means which concerns about the childbirth or parturition, and also about various gynecological disorders. That means which is mainly related with the diseases of female genital tract. So if we go through in our Samhitas, we have 8 angas, that is Ashtanga Ayurveda, that is Kaya, Balagraha, Urdhvanga, Shalyadamshra, Jaravrusha. So in this, we have no specific branch for Prasuti and Stri Roga, but this is merged in Balaroga or Kaumarabhritya itself. So Acharya Harita has quoted one shloka, that is Garbhopakrama Vijnanam Sutikopakramasthata Balanam Rogashamani Kriya Bala Chikitsitam. That means the Balaroga is not only includes the specific disorders which is concerned to the Bala, and it also includes Garbha and Garbhini Vijnana, and also mentioned about the Prasavavastha, Sutikavastha, and also its Upakrama and Paricharya during Garbhini and Sutika Kala. So in later classes we will going to discuss about in each topic detail. And the main objectives of Prasuti and Stri Roga are to maintain the physical and mental health of a woman throughout his life. That means in various stages of life, like during adolescence period and during puberty and during reproductive age and also during menopausal period. And to get a live progeny and a good progeny from a healthy mother by giving proper antenatal, intranatal and postnatal care to the pregnant woman. And also to give strengthen the genital organs and to cure the diseases of genital organs, and as well as diseases related to female endocrinology, that is endocrinological disorders like PCOD, thyroid related problems, all those things. So this is the main objectives of Prasuti and Stri Roga. So come to the main topic, that is we'll start with the first syllabus point, that is Stri Sharira Rachana, that means some Ayurvedic concepts about the anatomy of female genital tract. The first point is in that is Yoni. Yoni is generally correlated with the internal genital organ, that is vagina. Vagina is a fibromuscular organ which is measures about 10 centimeter and which extends from external genitalia, that is exterior part of the vulva up to the uterine cervix. So, and it measures about 10 centimeters, and it has got 4 walls: anterior wall, posterior wall, and 2 lateral walls. So in Ayurvedic concepts, Yoni, it is said to be, the synonyms of Yonis are Apatyapata, Raktapata, and Garbha Marga and Manobhavagara Mukha. That means Apatyapata and Garbha Marga is nothing but birth canal, and Raktapata is the way which is helpful for discharge of menstrual blood, and Manobhavagara Mukha is, it is a vagina or a Yoni is an organ of copulation. So and our Acharyas has described Akruti of Yoni, and it is correlated with Shankanabhyakrutir Yoni Triavarta Prakirtita Tasya Trutiyatvaavarte Garbhashaya Pratishtita. That means the Yoni is resembles with Shankhanabhi or hollow portion of conch cell. and it has got three avartas, that is Pratamavarta, Dvitiyavarta and Trutiyavarta. And in Trutiyavarta, Garbhashaya is situated. Its Pratamavarta is nothing but the vaginal sphincter, that is after part of the vagina. And Dvitiyavarta is mid-vaginal canal. And in Trutiyavarta, the Garbhashaya is, or uterus is situated. And next comes to Yoni Nadis. There are mainly three Yoni Nadis. That is, one is Samirana, Chandramukhi and Gauri. Yes, though it is sounds like some old actress's name, but no, it is three Yoni Nadis, that is Samirana, Chandramukhi and Gauri. Samirana Nadi is situated near the Madanatha Patra. Madanatha Patra is nothing but clitoris, that is one of the external genital organ. And the second one, that is Chandramukhi, which is situated near Kandarpa Geha, that is in mid-vaginal canal. And third one, that is Gauri, it is situated in Upastha Garbha, that is in depth of the vaginal canal. So, I repeat, there are three Yoni Nadis because this may be a PGT question. So, there are three Yoni Nadis. One is Samirana, Chandramukhi and Gauri. And our Acharyas has come up with another one, the peculiar concept, that is, during sexual intercourse, if semen falling over this Samirana Nadi, it becomes futile. That means it is Nishpala. That means it is not going to bear any fruit. And if semen falling over, that is in Madhyama, that is in Chandramukhi Nadi, and the female she delivers a female child. And if semen falling over the Gauri Nadi, that is in the Upastha Garbha, the female delivers a male child. So this is the concept of Yoni Nadis according to our Acharyas. Next, move on to next organ, that is Garbhashaya. Garbhashaya, so as you all know, it is generally correlated with the uterus. Uterus is a hollow muscular organ and it is a pelvic organ which is situated between the urinary bladder in front and rectum behind. And in Ayurvedic concept, if we see, Garbhashaya is one of the extra ashaya. That means Trinam Garbhashayo Ashtamaha. That means we already know, we have already studied in first year, that is there are 7 ashayas. Those are Vatashaya, Pittashaya, Shleshmashaya, Raktashaya, Amashaya and Pakvashaya. So there are 7 ashayas in the human body. But there is one another extra 8th ashaya which is present in females, that is Garbhashaya. Ashaya is nothing but Avakashayukta Pradesha. That means which is a hollow portion or hollow organ. So Garbhashaya is also a hollow organ which gives Ashraya to Garbha in future. That means whenever a lady becomes pregnant, it gives Ashaya for the Garbha. That means where Garbha resides inside the Garbhashaya. That's why it is called as Garbhashaya. So it is one of the 8th Ashaya in the female body. And the sthana of Garbhashaya, as already mentioned, it is present in 3rd avarta of the yoni, tasya trutiyatva avarte Garbhashaya pratishtita, and it is present between Pitta Pakvashayor Madhye, that means between the Pittashaya and Pakvashaya. And Acharya Kashyapa has mentioned another one significant, that means it is present in between the multiple coils of intestine, that means which is present in the multiple coils of intestine, and it is covered by a Jarayu. Jarayu is nothing but here we can consider it as a peritoneum. That means all the visceral organs which is covered by a visceral peritoneum. Hence the Garbhashaya is covered with a Jarayu, that is peritoneum, visceral peritoneum especially. And next move on to Akruti of this Garbhashaya. Yata Rohita Matsasya Mukham Bhavati Rupataha. Acharya Sushruta has quoted one peculiar shloka, that is Yata Rohita Matsasya Mukham Bhavati Rupataha. That means the Garbhashaya resembles the shape of Rohita Matsya, that is Rohita fish. Because of similarity in the shape, that means if we see the mouth of a Rohita Matsya and the lower part of the uterus, that is cervix, it resembles the Rohita Matsya. That means both are in triangular shape, and also it is both are in hollow inside. So that's why it is correlated with Rohita Matsya, Rohita fish. And next topic is Stri Peshi. it is very important for UG examination. It may be frequently asked questions for 5 marks, that is 3 peshi. Peshi is nothing but in general it will denotes the fascia, ligaments or sometimes muscles also. So this peshi covers the sira, snayu, asti and asti sandhi, that means the joints, and which gives protection and support and strength while covering them. Okay, so this is nothing but peshi, and the number of peshis are 500, and in female there are extra 20 peshis are present. So those are दशतासां स्तनयोः एकैकम् अस्मिन् पञ्च पञ्चेति. I repeat, दशतासां स्तनयोः एकैकम् अस्मिन् पञ्च पञ्चेति. That means there are extra 10 peshis present in the breast region. So and in each breast 5 peshis are present. So those can be correlated with outer quadrant and upper outer quadrant and lower outer quadrant and outer median quadrant of the breast and lower median quadrant of the breast, and also fifth one is the subareolar region. So these 5 regions can be correlated with 5 peshis which is present in the each breast. And next, so I say it finishes the 10 peshis, and again another 10 which is present in the 4 peshis are present near the apatyapata. Apatyapata chatasraha. That means, as I told, apatyapata is nothing but yoni or vaginal canal. So 2 peshis are present bahya pradesha, that means in externally, and 2 peshis are present inside, that is in abhyantara. So here abhyantara peshi can be considered as posterior and anterior vaginal wall, and which is present in bahya, which is present in a circular manner towards the vaginal sphincter or vaginal orifice. So thus 4 peshis are present in the apatyapata, and another 3 peshis present in garbhachidra. So here garbhachidra is nothing but cervix. So garbhachidra can be considered as cervix of the uterus. So 3 peshis are present near the garbhachidra, and it can be taken as 3 ligaments which is connects the cervix. So that is one is pubocervical ligament, and second one is uterosacral ligament, and third one is cardinal ligament or McEnroth's ligament. So these 3 ligaments can be considered as 3 peshis which is present near the garbhachidra. And fourth one is, and another 3 peshis are present for shukrartava praveshinya tisraha eva. That means another 3 peshis are present for, one for entry of the shukra, that is near the cervix, and another 2 for entry of the artava, that is near the fallopian tubes. So again these 3 peshis present for shukrartava praveshinya, that means for entry of shukra and artava, that is ovum and the sperm. So thus there are 20 extra peshis in the females. And next point is Shrotas. So I already know Sravana Srotamsi. That means Shrotasas are Yogavahi or channels which is carries any liquid materials. So there are 2 kinds of Shrotas. One is Bahirmukha Shrotasas and Antarmukha Shrotasas. Bahirmukha Shrotasas are nothing but external orifices, and Antarmukha are Abhyantara Shrotasas. And Bahirmukha Shrotasas are 9 in number, like Shravana, Vadana, Nayana, Grana, Navas Shrotamsi Naranam Bahirmukhani. That means there are 9 Bahirmukha Shrotasas present, and in that there are 3 extra Bahirmukha Shrotasas are present in the females. Those are 2 for Stanyavaha, that means Stanyavaha Shrotasas, that is for the discharge of or the secretion of the breast milk, and 1 for Rajovahi Shrotas, that means for the secretion of the menstrual blood. So thus 3 extra Bahirmukha Shrotasas are present in the female. And coming to the Abhyantara Shrotas, so the Abhyantara Shrotas is Artavaha Shrotas, which is explained by Acharya Sushrita. Note, no other Acharyas have explained this Artavaha Shrotas. Artavaha Shrotas is, see, like the other Acharyas like Acharya Charaka has explained pranavaha srotas, udakavaha srotas, rasavaha, raktavaha, all those things I have explained. But artavaha srotas are only explained by Acharya Sushruta. So Acharya Sushruta in Sharirasthana, he quotes that Artavahe dve tayor moolam garbhashaya artavavahinyascha damanyah. That means artavahe dve. That means there are two artavaha srotas. Always Sushruta has explained srotas are two. There are two artavaha srotas, and the moola of this artavaha srotas are garbhashaya and artavavahini dhamanis. So the moola of artava srotas are garbhashaya and artavavahini dhamanis. That means the dhamanis which carries the blood or uterine blood. That means the arteries which supplies blood towards the uterus is nothing but artavahi dhamanis. And in second line he quoted that tatra vidyayam vandyatvam maituna asahishnutvam artava nashascha. That means if any injury to this artava srotas which leads to vandyatva. Vandyatva is nothing but a serious condition, that is infertility, and maituna asahishnutva, that means difficulty during or a painful coital act. That means it is related with the dyspareunia. Dyspareunia is nothing but difficulty during the coital act. And third one is artavanashascha. Artavanasha is nothing but absence of menstruation or amenorrhea. So these are a three condition which is going to occur because of vidha, that means injury to the artavaha srotasis. And next move on to other topic, that is Stri Marma. Marayantiti Marmani, that means which is going to be fetal, that is called as Marma. So there are four extra Marmas which is present in the Stri, that is Stanamula and Stana Rohita. Stanamula Marma is Sira Marma. I repeat, Stanamula Marma is Sira Marma, and which measures about half angula, and Stana Rohita Marma is Mamsa Marma, and which measures about 2 angula. And this Stanamula and Stana Rohita Marma both are Kalantara Pranahara Marma. And this Stanamula Marma, that is Sira Marma, which is present 2 angula below the Stana Pradesha, and Stana Rohita Marma, that is Mamsa Marma, which is present 2 angula above the nipple region. So these are these four marmas which is present in the females, that is 2 Stana Mula Marma and Stana Rohita Marma. So next, coming to the next topic, that is Rajo Vijnana. In this session, I'm only going to discuss about some of the Ayurvedic concepts of Stri Sharir Rachana. I'm not going to touch modern aspects, that is anatomy of female genital tract in detail. And next we will discuss about Rajo Vijnana. That means some of the description about the Raja. That means like Paribhasha, Utpatti, and so on. So if we see the Raja is nothing but menstrual discharge. And sometimes menstrual discharge is also denoted as Artava. So that means Artava and Raja both are synonymally used to denote the menstrual discharge. And the paribhasha of Raja is Rasadeva Strinam, Rasadeva Rajaha Strinam, Masi Masi Trayam Sravit. So this is one of the quote from Bhava Prakasha Purvakanda. Rasadeva Rajaha Strinam, Masi Masi Rajaha Sravet. Masi Masi Trayam Sravet. So that means Raja is nothing but the menstrual discharge which occurs periodically in the woman for 3 days. So that means Raja is nothing but a menstrual discharge which occurs in the woman periodically. So I'm stressing over the term periodically. Here the Acharya has mentioned Masi Masi. Masi Masi nothing but The woman who starts with the menarche, that means from the onset of menstruation, that is the menarche period, until the menopause, she will continuously, that means for every month, periodically she will going to bleed for the duration of 3 to 5 days. That means masi masi trayam srave. That is for 3 days she will going to discharge the menstrual blood. So this is the paribhasha of Raja. And next we'll see the Utpatti of Raja. Rasadeva striya raktam Rajah sangnam pravartate. This is the quotation from Sushruta Sutrasthana. Rasadeva striya raktam Rajah sangnam pravartate. That means Raja is nothing but Raja is present in the form of blood, and it is produced from Rasadhatu. That means Rasastanyam tato Rasastanyam Artavam cha. That means both Stanya and Artava are the Upadhatu of Rasadhatu. That means whenever we consume food, it is going to, after digestion, it is going to convert it as a Ahara Rasa, and from this Ahara Rasa, Rasadhatu, and this Ahara Rasa is converted as Rasadhatu, and from this Rasadhatu, two Upadhatus are produced. So those are, one is Artava and another one is Tanya. As already mentioned, sometimes Raja is also called as Artava. So in this context, Raja is nothing but Artava only. So Artava or Raja are one and the same, which denotes the menstrual blood. So Artava and the Stanya, that is the breast milk, so both are the Upadhatu of Rasadhatu. So it is frequently asked question in PGT exams. So they would ask, so Rasa, Upadhatu of Rasadhatu, or, and they will give the option. So you have to choose both the Artava and Stanya. Both are Upadhatu of the Rasadhatu. And next, move on to Swarupa of Artava. Swarupa of Artava is Artavam Agneyam. Artavam Agneyam, that means Artava has got the properties of Agni due to the predominance of Tejo Mahabhuta. In contrary to that, Shukram Saumyam, that means Shukra is always Saumya Guna Pradana because of presence of Prithvi and Jala Mahabhuta, it is always Saumya. And Artava is Agneya because of Tejo Mahabhuta Pradhana. This is due to predominance of the Tejo Mahabhuta. So thus we can, that means if you want to increase Artava in a lady, that means in a pregnant, that means for Artava Vruddhi cases, if you want to increase the Artava Vruddhi, that means in a condition of oligomenorrhea or hypomenorrhea, so you have to give some Artava Vardhaka Dravyas or Pitta Vardhaka Dravyas, or the Dravyas which are drugs which is predominance in the Tejo Mahabhuta Pradhana Dravyas you have to give, like Kulata, Masha, Matsya. So all these Dravyas are Piktakara and also increases the Artava in the body. And if you want to decrease the Artava Pramana, that means in the cases of Artava Vruddhi like Asrigdara, Rakta Pradhara condition, you have to give to suppress the Artava. So in that cases, you have to ask the patient to reduce the Pittakara Ahara and Vihara. So in contrary to that, if you want to increase the Shukra in the males, you have to give Kapha Pradhana Dravya, that means as well as Prithvi and Jala Mahabhuta Pradhana Dravyas. And which is present most apparently in the Madhura Ahara. Madhura Ahara में कफ ज़्यादा होता है. So you have to give कफकरा आहार, that means मधुर आहार युक्त द्रव्यास को देना चाहिए आपको. And then after Swarupa, very importantly, that is Pramana of Artava. That is the Pramana of Artava is Rajaso Anjalis Chatvaraha. So according to Sushruta, the Pramana of Artava or Raja is 4 Anjali. 4 Anjali, that means 1 Anjali is equal to 10 ounce, that is approximately equal to 28 ml, and 4 Anjalis is nothing but 28 into 4, that is around 80 to 100 ml. So in modern concept also, the amount of menstrual discharge during every cycle is around 50 to 80 ml. So discharge of menstrual blood around 50 to 80 ml is considered as normal. So this is the normal amount of menstrual blood. So in our classics also they have mentioned the pramana of Artava is 4 Anjali, that is approximately equal to 80 to 100 ml. So next move on to Shuddha Artava Lakshana. Shuddha Artava Lakshana. This is one very important and famous quote from Sushruta Sharirasthana, that is Shasha Asrik Pratimam Yattu Yadva Laksha Rasopamam Tadartapam Prashamasanti Yadva Sona Viranjayat. That means the Artava is considered as Shuddha whenever it resembles the Shasha Asrik, that means rabbit's blood. That means if the color of Artava resembles the rabbit's blood, or else if it resembles the Laksha Rasa, then it is said to be a Shuddha. And also he quoted that Tadartavam Prashamasanti Yadvaso na Viranjaya. That means after washing it doesn't stain the cloths, then only it is said to be a Shuddhartava. So this is the quote from Sushruta Sharirasthana. Next we'll move on to Pratama Rajo Darshana Kala. That means the first onset of menstruation. In modern it is termed as menarche. That means first onset of menstruation is nothing but menarche. The approximate age is around 13 to 16 years. So approximately we will consider it as a 13 year is the normal age to start the menstruation or for menarche. That means in Pratama Rajo Darshana in Ayurveda there is one reference, that is Tat Varshad Dvadashad Urdvam Yati Panchashataha Kshayam. I repeat, Tat Varshad Dvadashad Urdvam Yati Panchashataha Kshayam. That means after the age of 12 years and until the age of 50 years, Urdvam, that means Dvadashad Urdvam, that is after the age of 12 years and until Panchashataha, that means up to the age of 50 years, the woman will going to menstruate. That means menstrual discharge will takes place. That means here 12 years, that year considered as the onset of menstruation, that is menarche, and 50 years usually it is considered as the period of menopause, where the stoppage of menstruation will takes place. So that is menopausal period. And next topic is Rutu Chakra, that is menstrual cycle. So this Rutu Chakra or menstrual cycle, the duration of Rutu Chakra is 1 Chandramasa. That is 1 Chandramasa is nothing but 1 lunar month, that is which is equal to 28 days. That means the duration of Rutu Chakra is 28 days and is divided into 3 phases. This one is Rajasrava Kala, and second one is Rutu Kala, and third one is Rutu Vyatita Kala. The first one is Rajasrava Kala, is nothing but menstruation phase, and second one is Rutu Kala, that is proliferative phase with ovulation. So notice Rutu Kala is nothing but not only ovulation, Rutu Kala is taken as proliferative phase along with the ovulatory period. And third one is Rutu Vyatita Kala, is nothing but secretory phase of the endometrium, or it is also considered as a post-ovulatory phase. So there are 3 phases. One is menstruation phase, that is Rajasrava Kala, and second one is Rutu Kala, that is proliferative phase with ovulation, and third one is Rutu Vyatita Kala, that is secretory phase of the endometrium or post-ovulatory phase. So first we'll discuss about Rajasrava Kala. As I told, Rajasrava Kala is menstruation phase, that is where periodic discharge of menstrual blood takes place. So this duration of this Rajasrava Kala is around 3 to 7 days. So as it is a biological variability, approximately we should not consider in an accurate manner. We should take the range. That means the duration of Rajasrava Kala is around 3 to 7 days. That means it is variability is present in different individuals. So एक के लिए 3 दिन होता है और एक के लिए 5 दिन और एक के लिए 7 दिन तक चलता है. So from 3 to 7 days is considered as a normal duration for Rajasrava Kala, that means the phase of menstruation. So menstruation is nothing but it is a visible manifestation of a cyclic uterine bleeding due to the shedding of endometrium. So I repeat, menstruation is nothing but visible. That means visible. That means we can see it. It is a visible manifestation of cyclic. That means which will occur every month. Cyclically, it will occur every month. Cyclic uterine bleeding, and this is due to the shedding of endometrium. That is, endometrium is the inner part of the inner lining of the uterus. This is due to menstruation is due to shedding of the endometrium with the invisible interplay of HPO axis. HPO axis is nothing but hypothalamo-pituitary ovarian axis. So this is due to, so all this manifestation is due to invisible interplay of HPO axis, that is hypothalamo-pituitary ovarian axis. And as I told, the duration is 3 to 7 days. And in our class 6, they have mentioned, our acharyas has mentioned some paricharya during this menstruation phase, that is during this Rajasrava Kala. It is called as Rajasvalacharya. I repeat, the paricharya or a regimen which is going to follow during this menstrual phase is called Rajasvalacharya. So they have mentioned some certain points during this period we have to proceed, or we have to follow during this menstrual phase, like from the onset of menstruation, that means जब भी एक महीने में पहले दिन से menstruation शुरू हो जाता है, तब से लेके 3 दिन तक, from the onset of menstruation till 3 days and 3 nights, the lady must and should observe the chastity, that is celibacy. That means do not indulging in any sexual intercourse, and do not take bath, and do not clean herself. So this is said by Acharya Charaka. And Acharya Sushruta mentions that she should avoid divasvapna, that is sleeping in the daytime, and also avoid ratri jagarana, and also avoid anjana, lepana, abhyanga karma. That means any anointment, application of any anointment or anjana, that is kajal over the eyes, or any type of lepana, all should be avoided this Rajasrava Kala. And she should not cut the nails, that is nakakartana is also prohibited. She should not cut her nails, and she should not combing her hairs, and she should avoid heavy talking or walking and laughing also. And exercise is also prohibited during this phase. That's why any physical activities, the vigorous physical activities, or like any exercises or any yogas are also should not do in this menstruation phase. And also Sushruta has mentioned she should eat in the broken vessels, or she should eat in a ardran pot. That means a vessels or pot which is made up of mud or some leaves. And he also mentioned she should eat food made up of gruta, kshira and shali. So this is all about Rajasvalacharya. That means the regimen should be followed by a lady during her menstruation period. And second one is Rutukala. Coming to the second phase, that is Rutukala. Rutukala, as told, it is nothing but proliferative phase with ovulatory period, that is ovulation. So Rutukala is termed as Garbhagrahana Samarthakalaha. I repeat, Rutukalaha Garbhagrahana Samarthakalaha. Garbhagrahana Samarthakala means it is considered as a fertile period, because in this period conception is possible. So after the completion of menstruation, that is after the 5th day, that means from 6th day to continuously 12 days, it is considered as a proliferative period or Rutukala. So the duration of Rutukala is 12 days, or sometimes it is considered as 16 days also. But according to Acharya Sushruta, the duration of Rutukala is 12 days. So it has been frequently asked in a PGET exams around in Karnataka PGET in 2009, I think it has been asked. According to Sushruta, the duration of Rutukala is 12 days. And according to Acharya Vagbhata, he mentioned the 2 duration. That means he considered 12 days or 16 days or the duration of Rutukala. So as I told, it is a Garbhagrahana Samarthakalaha. That means it is a fertile period, because in this period conception is possible. Why conception is possible? Because if we consider 28 days of cycle, from first to 5 days, it is a period of menstruation, and after that 6th day to continuously, that means successively 12 days is considered as proliferative phase. And this in phase, if in a regular cycle, so ovulation is going to occur on 12th to 16th day. So ovulation is going to occur during 12th to 16th day में कभी भी ovulation का chances रहता है. So that means whenever a couple come to in contact in this period, conception is possible. So this considered as a Garbhagrahana Samarthakalaha, or it is a fertile period. And the importance of this period is, after the completion of this Rutukala, Yoni Samvarana will takes place. That means closure of the cervix or Samvarana of Yoni will takes place. So that means in this period, the cervix become hostile to the entry of the sperm. That means after this, entry of sperm will not takes place. So that means after this Rutukala, conception is not possible. So this is all about Rutukala. And third one, coming to Rutu Vyatita Kala. Rutu Vyatita Kala is nothing but post-ovulatory period. There is nothing much description about this post-ovulatory period. As I said, it is a secretory phases of endometrium, where endometrium will get endometrial cells, that is glands and stroma of the endometrium will start to secrete. And in this phase, according to Acharya Vagbhata, Yoni Samvarana will takes place. That means closing of the, if we see in modern concepts also, the closing of the cervical opening will takes place due to thick mucus plug, which is under the influence of progesterone hormone. So after the ovulation, the Graafian follicle is said to be a corpus luteum. That means ovulation के बाद क्या होता है, secondary oocyte will release from the Graafian follicle. So on this Graafian follicle will convert it into corpus luteum, and from this corpus luteum the progesterone hormone will secrete in the second half of the cycle. That means after ovulation there will be a predominance of progesterone hormone, and due to this progesterone hormone, it will create some thick mucus plug around the cervix region, and due to this thick mucus plug, it will prohibit the entry of sperm inside the uterus. So that means during this Rutu Vyatita Kala, that is in post-ovulatory phase, the conception, chances of conception is very less. So that's all about Rutu Chakra. So that is Rajasrava Kala, Rutu Kala and Rutu Vyatita Kala. So up to this we had complete about one first topic, that is 3 Sharir Rachana, we have finished, and second point, that is Rajo Vijnana, as well as Rutu Chakra we had finished, and also the importance of Rutukala and Rajaswala Paricharya. So if you have any doubts, you can share with me. Kavya Vidyavati. So from up to this, I will going to conclude the session. So before that, if you have any doubts, you can ask or you can text. About this topic, or if you are having regarding any other doubts regarding Stri Prasuti, you can ask. Okay, I hope you all understood about this session, and I hope you all get beneficial. So, with this, I would like to conclude my session. If any doubts regarding this topic, you can comment on this post. I'm always ready to answer. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.